die Verbrennung der Amerikaner.
So I kind of recorded like a vlog video yesterday. Remember way back when in the channel that I actually recorded vlogs? Well, I sort of like did another vlog yesterday. Like was filming outside when I went on a little adventure, but the wind was just so intense, and I always remembered my iPhone like having very good recording, like audio recording quality when I was filming videos outdoors, but I don't know, there was just something about the wind yesterday. It's like it was hitting the microphones directly and the audio was just trash. Picture quality was amazing, audio was just trash, and there was like no way I could salvage it. And it's kind of a bummer because I was really enjoying talking about what I was talking about yesterday and showing off some of the cool places near where I live. If you're wondering what I'm holding, Dunhill Icon Racing. Not my fragrance of the day, but if you want a super condensed version of what I think about this, if you already own Paco Rabanne's Invictus or Invictus Aqua or any of the million Invictus clones, you do not need to own this, especially not when it comes in at a similar price to Invictus. It's sort of like, why would you clone a fragrance and then release it at a very similar price? It's like, what's the point? See, I understand cloning a $400 niche scent and then releasing a $100 version of that. That actually makes sense to me, but a designer brand releasing a clone of another designer brand that effectively smells exactly the same. It's like, I'm so glad I've got like a little voice here on YouTube where I can mention things like this. And maybe you don't like Paco Rabanne, maybe there's some practice that Paco Rabanne has done and you don't want to support them. I guess in that sort of instance, I can understand throwing your support behind Dunhill as well, but is one massive corporation better than another massive corporation? I don't know, you be the judge of that one. So yeah, I was filming like a vlog yesterday out by the ocean, and it's just, I'll put some like, I can save the footage, I'll put some of it over while I'm talking over this, like I can use that as B-roll effectively. I mean, it smells nice, but it's a bloody clone. Do you need another clone? But yeah, I was like recording the video yesterday. I was like very happy with what I was saying. What was I talking about? I don't know, I was just kind of musing on life and stuff, and I was just posting about how thankful I am for where I am in the world. You know, life is long. It's the longest thing we'll ever get to know. But it's still easy to take shit for granted, you know? Like, it's so easy to just... Sometimes, how do I put this? Even though I live in such an amazing area of the world that's, you know, replete with beauty. Like, it is literally one of the most beautiful areas on planet Earth, and there are innumerable beautiful areas on this big, beautiful planet of ours. And sometimes you get a little down in the dumps, you get a little, you're feeling sorry for yourself, like, I don't know, just, it's the whole rat race mentality, you know? It's gotta be, you've got to escape it. I used to, in high school, I used to make fun of the stoners, and not that I am one, I'm definitely not that at all, even if maybe the long hair might give you the impression that I am. But I used to make fun of like the kids that would smoke weed. I used to make fun of the hippie kind of kids. You know, I was sort of like an angry punk rock kid. And little did I know that not that long into the future I would eventually become one of those hippie kind of people. I don't think of myself as a hippie, but I mean, I certainly would look at somebody like me back then and I would go, that guy's a hippie. I don't know. I think another thing, we're all too quick to label things and stereotype things and pigeonhole things. Just, at the end of the day, you've just got to be yourself. And that should be enough, you know? That's part of the problem with the world. We just lump things into a category. We go, alright, this is one thing and we're another thing and that's it. You know, it's not that black and white, guys. Life is nothing but shades of grey. And I know some people with their own personal philosophies and their own ideologies and ideas, thoughts, views, points of view. They look at things in such binary terms, they look at things in such stark black and whites, but reality is just a series of grey areas, and it's how you navigate through those grey areas. Like, I know somebody I love very dearly is, they claim to not be a homophobe. They claim to not be homophobic, for example. But their behavior and their attitude towards people like that, it just, you know, it's completely contrary to what they say. And it's one of those things where you've got to kind of go off how people act, not what they say. I can recommend a million different fragrances, tying it all in the fragrances. I could recommend a million different fragrances to you guys, but if I'm only wearing one fragrance every single day, day after day, that should say something to you guys. I'm only going to recommend fragrances that I would actually wear, even though it pains me to sort of recommend brands like Tom Ford, which is a luxury brand. Pains me to recommend something that most people, a $300 fragrance, a $250 fragrance, is well out of their budget. And that's why, you know, in my heart of hearts, I don't want to recommend brands like that, even though they perform great and they smell great and yada yada yada. It's hard to recommend brands that just cost such an exorbitant amount of money. I've been reading Ushiba's The Art of Peace, and I've probably butchered that name again. Life is within death. Death is within life. You must exist right here, right now. In The Art of Peace, a single cut of the sword summons up the wondrous powers of the universe. That one sword links past, present, and future. It absorbs the universe. Time and space disappear. All of creation, from the distant past to the present moment, lives in this sword. All human existence flourishes right here in the sword you hold in your own hands. You are now prepared for anything that may arise. Now, this bloke was the founder of the martial art known as Aikido. Now, you probably know that martial art from its most famous practitioner, Steven Seagal. Now, regardless of what you think of him now, like, when I was a kid, I loved me some Steven Seagal movies. You know, Hard to Kill is just one of the best action movies ever made. Like, his first few action movies, from like, even like On Deadly Ground, Under Siege 2, all of those movies, despite them feeling exactly the same as everything else he's done at that point of time, like, they're all incredible action movies. And if you haven't checked out any of his like alrighty then, when did like Steven Seagal like start making like direct to DVD films? I would probably go Steven Seagal in like 2001 did a movie called Exit Wounds with DMX, and everything Seagal did prior to that is probably worth watching if you just like, you know, crazy action movies from like the late 80s and early 90s. Like, up to that point his output was pretty good, I've got to say. The reason why I'm bringing up Steven Seagal and Aikido is because On Deadly Ground, a movie that he did in 1994, is about environmentalism. On Deadly Ground has that perfect balance between Steven Seagal's sort of Aikido philosophy with the environmentalism. It's like the convergence of the two. And a book like The Art of Peace, for example, you don't need to practice Aikido to be able to apply these messages to your own life. Love is like the rays of the sun, shining left, right, up, down, front, back, bathing everything in light. It's easy to look at that as like hippy-dippy nonsense, you know. Once upon a time, I would have looked at that stuff as hippy-dippy nonsense, and I would have just completely dismissed it all. But you reach a certain point in your life, and things start making sense to you. Like, I'm an angry guy. I probably seem like a very peaceful, grounded individual, and in a lot of ways I am, but there's always going to be that angry punk rock kid inside me, you know, that's dislikes authority, that wants to do things the way that's going to be best for the world, things like that. That's why I put a little message at the start of every video that I make about not tolerating homophobia and transphobia and stuff like that. It's to weed out the people, to try my best to weed out the people that hold those ideals and views, and putting those messages at the start of every single video that I do. It actually means a lot to me. Putting in a little message for Lifeline. You know, I remember I would have probably been like 12 years old. I would have been very young, 12, 13, and I just started high school. And I went from being the most popular kid in school, most popular kid in primary school, to moving to a completely different school in a completely different area and knowing 1, 2 people at most. And it was just such a jarring experience, and I used to get these silly juvenile thoughts in my head. And I remember calling up Lifeline one day. No, actually it was the kids helpline, and I just spoke to some really kind, beautiful souled woman, and she just had a conversation with me, and I'm pretty sure her name was Sandra. I'm pretty confident it was Sandy or Sandra. And she just treated me like a friend, you know, and she listened to what I had to say. And I don't know, high school, when I look back at high school, I look at it as a time in my life where, you know, I loved high school, I loved every moment, but I often forget about the first couple of months in high school when I've just started, even though it's such a small percentage of the actual amount of time I was in high school. I had a very rough go of it, like really rough. Like in that first 2 months. Like the rest of it, amazing, but the first 2 months, ultra rough. And that's, you know, I was a confident kid, you know, I'm still very confident now, like my confidence is everything. But it just goes to show that if you take somebody and put them in a different situation, in a different environment, like it takes a while to adjust, to, you know, acclimatize to a different area entirely. So yeah, I put that little message about the Lifeline at the start of my videos because I remember calling Kids Helpline when I was like 12, 13 years old, maybe not even that. And I really hope that perhaps somebody does randomly stumble upon one of my videos and click, and they're not in a good frame of mind, and they see that little message at the start of my videos and they decide to call Lifeline, and it gives them a little bit of hope, it gives them another day. That matters more to me than talking about fragrances. It matters more to me than saving people money. Life, hope, the light, that really means the world to me. And so I will continue having those little messages in the start of the video. I will continue my quest and practice of the art of peace, because life is very long. Like I said, it's the longest thing we'll ever know, and we're not guaranteed a tomorrow, but you can help people today. You can help yourself today. And so that's why I'm not changing the direction of the channel. You know, I'm still going to be doing fragrance stuff. It'd be disingenuous to sort of, you know, I'm still passionate about fragrances, but more than anything, I want to provide a little light for people. And if somebody gets a little bit of joy from seeing me excited to talk about a fragrance, or, you know, some clothing that I bought, even though I'm trying not to buy new clothes anymore, if I can bring someone a little moment of joy, if talking and sort of being a friend to someone, being positive, can inspire somebody, just that tiny little bit that gives them an extra day, an extra hour to consider something drastic, to reconsider something drastic, then, you know, I value my time here and the platform that I have. Even though it's a small platform right now, I think I can grow a big platform, a bigger platform than this. Like, I was reading this story about that Mr. Beast bloke. I don't watch his videos or anything, but I was reading that he actually got a bunch of homeless blind people. I'm pretty sure they were homeless. And he paid for their treatments because the treatments are like relatively cheap, but the American healthcare system doesn't care about the homeless people enough to treat them. You know, a little $100 procedure or $40 procedure. He basically allowed a bunch of these homeless people to see again. And I thought that was the most beautiful thing I'd read the day that I read that article. And so, even though I was pretty neutral towards Mr. Beast up until that point, and then I'm just like, okay, even if he does like goofy videos where he puts Orbeez in a swimming pool, I don't even know what an Orbie is, mate. But if that bloke is helping people, put as much Orbeez in swimming pools as you want, mate. I think that's awesome. I think that's truly awesome if that story and that video is like true. Anyways, so that's just me sharing some thoughts today. If you've gotten to this point, like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But if you don't, that's okay too. I love all of you guys. You know, my own little mates of YouTube, my little community here on YouTube. You know, it gives me a lot of joy being able to make these videos. Anyways, until the next video, my name is Aussie Marcel, and I'll catch you guys around.